Hello and welcome to this video tutorial brought to you by tastytunes.com. In this tutorial, I will be working with images in Adobe InDesign. I will be demonstrating how to place images into InDesign and work with them in a composition. So here I am in InDesign with my current work document. In the last video, I brought in all the text and demonstrated how to format it. So now we are going to bring in all the images. In this video, I'm going to be jumping back and forth from my current document to my Scamp design so I can preview what placement I want to achieve, and then I'll demonstrate how to achieve it. Now in InDesign, images are always placed in frame containers, so we must always have a frame first to place our image into. And if I place an image into your composition without a frame first, InDesign will automatically create one for you. Now I just want to show you the complete composition to discuss my next point. So taking a look at the complete document, I can see a lot of images here, but it's important to mention that all these images are just representative. All images that will ever appear in this composition will be stored in the Assets folder outside of InDesign and not in the InDesign file itself. So saving this InDesign file will generally be low in file size, as images are only displayed visually in this composition layout. It's only when I export the document later I'm going to manifest the images into a solid, tangible layout, but more on that later. Now it's important to note, however, that images can actually be embedded into InDesign. But for this course, I'm just going to demonstrate images as links. Okay, so one tip to bear in mind: if I come to the top menu and come to View and scroll down to Display Performance, we can choose from three options. We have Fast Display, Typical Display, and High Quality Display. Generally, this is used based on the performance of your computer. If I select Fast Display, all the images will change to grey placement boxes. Typical view will represent the images but in low quality, and as you might have guessed, high quality will show you actual quality of the images, but this tends to slow your computer down if you have a lot of images in a composition. So I always tend to use typical view. So with all this said, let's begin. I'm going to start with the cover. So let's move to this page, and I can do this quite easy by coming over to the Pages panel and double clicking on this page, and this will give me a good view of it here in the composition area. And I want to make sure I am viewing my composition in normal mode, so I can see my guides and the outlines of the object frames. I can do this by pressing W on the keyboard. Now I can see all my frame outlines. Now looking at my Scamp design, I can see I want to place my image and compose it like so. So back in my current comp, I'm going to try and get something to match. Now as you can see, I have already placed my frame here ready for my image. So now I need to place my image inside this frame. To do this, I first need to select this frame. I can do this by pressing V on the keyboard to activate my selection tool. Now with the selection tool, I will simply click on my frame, and with this selected, I can do one of two things. I can come up to File, scroll down to Place, or I could use the shortcut key. For this, I'm going to use the shortcut key, Command D, to place an image. So I'm going to navigate to my Assets folder and click into my JPEG folder, and then into the CMYK folder and select my cover image from here. Then click OK, and it will appear into my document like so. Now depending on how big this image is, when you place an image into your frame, it will either be too small or too big for your frame. For example, in my case, I can see the image is much bigger than the frame it was placed into. As you can see, I can only see part of it. So now I need to change the image size in order to get a better placement. But first, I would like to explain the dynamics of images and frame boxes. So by now, we have learned that for an image to be in our composition, it first needs to be in a frame. And we can edit frames by using the selection tool. By pressing V on the keyboard, I can select the frame and move it around and change the size. Now keep in mind, this does not affect the image contained within the frame. If we want to modify the image inside the frame, we first need to select this image inside the frame. To do this, we need to do one of two things. With the selection tool, I can click the frame once and then double click, and this will then select the image inside the frame. And I will know this as now I can see a red outline. This is the outline of the image inside the frame. So that's the first way. Another way is by using the direct selection tool. First click off the frame. If I select the direct selection tool from the menu, being the white arrow icon, or I can press the shortcut key A on the keyboard, I will now activate the direct selection tool. And I will know this is active as my mouse cursor is now a white pointer. So with this tool active, I can now move my mouse cursor over my frame and I will see the red outline of the image within the frame. If I click once, then I will have immediately selected the image within the frame. So now I have this image selected, I can click and drag the image around inside the frame to recompose the image. Notice how the frame stays in the same position, but only the image moves around inside. If I want to make the image smaller, I can put my mouse cursor over one of the edge anchors and drag it in like so. But if I want to scale the image down, I need to hold down Shift on the keyboard and pull it in like so, and that will scale it down nicely. But I'm going to undo this and show you a neat little trick. So now it's back to the way it was when I first placed it into my document. If I use the selection tool to select the frame in which the image is placed, I am going to press and hold Shift Alt Command and then press E. Then the image will be scaled down to fit the image like so. This will make it easier to then double click into the frame to select the image and change the size. If I take a quick look at my Scamp, I can see I want the motorbike and the man to come in from the right side and be composed in this way. So back in InDesign, I'm going to tweak the size, then I'm going to click and drag it around my frame until I get something accurate to my Scamp. And that's looking okay. So that's the first image in my composition. Now I want to draw your attention to the links panel. Now upon placing this image, I can see I have a new entry in my links panel. And here we can see the file name, the file extension, what the page it's on, the DPI, what color profile, and the image size. Every time you add a new image to your document, it will be represented here in the links panel. As you will learn later, this panel is going to be pretty important when it comes to managing images in InDesign. In this course, there is a tutorial dedicated entirely to this links panel, discussing the importance of this panel and how you can customize it to improve your workflow. If you have not seen this tutorial, I recommend you watch it. The link is in the description. Okay, so let's put the next image into the comp. This time I will place an image on the back page. I can move over to this page by pressing and holding on the spacebar. My mouse cursor will change to this hand symbol and I can then click and drag around my composition area like so. By pressing V, I can pull up my selection tool and I can see, like earlier, I already have a frame here ready to place another image. But in this instance, I'm going to select the frame and then press delete to remove this frame, because this time I'm going to demonstrate another technique to place an image into InDesign. So instead of selecting the frame to place an image into, I'm going to place an image directly into the composition. So let's take a look at how this works. So like earlier, I can do one of two things. I can come to File and select Place, or just use the shortcut key Command D to place an image. So I'm going to press Command D, and again I'm going to come back to my Assets folder, back into the JPEG folder, and I'm going to choose an image and press OK. Now once you press OK, you will then notice your mouse cursor will change to this icon. This is InDesign asking you where you would like to place your image. Now if I click and drag, I will begin to draw a frame, and upon release the frame will appear and the image will be contained within. Taking a quick look at my Scamp, I can see I want to compose it in this way. So back in my current comp, I'm going to modify my image to match. Okay, so that's the second image in our composition. And if I take a look at the links panel, I can now see there is a new item here. Okay, so next I'm going to come to page 4. And if I look on my Scamp, I can see I want to place this grid of images. So let's put these into our document. So I'm going to begin by activating my selection tool by pressing V on the keyboard, and I'm going to select the top frame, and again I'm going to press delete because this time I'm going to demonstrate another way to import an image. This one is going to be very similar to the previous method. So let's take a look. So like earlier, I'm going to press Command D, the shortcut button, to place an image, and again navigate to my next image and press OK. Now, just like before, the mouse cursor has changed, and this is InDesign asking me where I want to place my image. But this time, instead of me clicking and drawing a frame to place my image into, I'm simply going to click once somewhere in my composition. And what you will see is the image will appear in the composition, but this time the image will be placed in its actual size. So if I press V and select the frame, then double click into it, we can see that the image inside the frame matches the size of the frame outside. So this is another way to place an image into our composition. But now we have a problem. This image is much bigger than I want. I need to make it smaller and fit into my composition. So how do I do this? Well, earlier I showed you how to change the size of a frame and then change the size of an image within the frame. Now I'm going to demonstrate how you can change the image and the frame size at the same time. To do this, you need to first select your frame, again by pressing V to activate your selection tool. Then I'm going to select the frame I want to change, and I can do one of two things. I can come to the menu and select the scale tool, or I can press S on the keyboard for the shortcut. So I'm going to press the shortcut S on the keyboard. Now upon pressing S, the mouse cursor will change to this crosshair. Now if I place my mouse cursor on the left or right of the image, click and drag in, I can change the width of the frame. Now notice how the image changes inside the frame as well. I will quickly undo this by pressing Command Z. This time, if I place my mouse cursor above the frame, click and drag down, the same applies. I can change the height of the frame. But next, if I place my cursor around one of the corners, I'm going to go for the bottom right and click and drag in, I can make the image small like so. Now if I press and hold Shift on the keyboard, I can decrease the image size, but this time to scale. So I'll scale the image down nicely, like so, and using the selection tool, I'm going to select the frame and tweak the size of the frame to get the right placement. Then I'm going to double click into the frame to select the image inside. And then I'm going to resize this image and drag it around into a position that best matches my Scamp. So that's the third image placed into my composition. And we can see that now there are 3 items in my links panel. So now I need to add a further 4 images to my 4 frames below, and this time I'm going to show another technique. So we have our 4 frames ready to place. Now I could use one of the techniques demonstrated earlier, but for this example I'm going to demonstrate a way to place multiple images in one go. So again, like earlier, I'm going to press Command D to place an image, but this time instead of selecting one image, I'm going to select 4 and press OK. Again, the mouse cursor will change, and again InDesign is now asking me where I want to place my images. But notice, this time I have a number 4 by my mouse cursor. Well, this is InDesign telling me I have 4 images in which to place. So I'm going to go ahead and click 4 times, but I'm going to click on each frame to place an image in each frame. So 1 click on this frame, 1 click on the next frame, 1 click on the next frame, and lastly 1 on this frame. So just like that, I have placed 4 images into 4 separate frames. So looking at my Scamp, I can now see I want to position each image in a particular way. So now I'm going to use the Direct Selection tool, pressing A on the keyboard, and I can click into a frame to select the image. And by pressing S, the shortcut for scale, I can scale the image down holding Shift on the keyboard, and then release to drag my image round in the frame until I match the Scamp. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other 3 frames. So let's compare the Scamp and current comp, and that's looking pretty close. And we can now see these items have been added to my links panel. Now if I press W on the keyboard, I can toggle to preview mode, and I can see this is looking quite nice. So I'm going to press W again to go back into normal mode. So let's take a look at my Scamp, and now I need to place some images on page 5. That looks like this. I have 3 rows of images here in 2 columns. So back in InDesign, I'm going to come down to page 5, and we can see that, like earlier, we already have our frames here, which, using one of the techniques already demonstrated, I could easily place my images into them. But I'm going to activate my selection tool by pressing V, and I'm going to select all but the top left frame by holding Shift and selecting each to select multiple objects, and then I'm going to press Delete so I'm only left with one. Now you may be wondering, why put these frames here in the first place if now I'm just going to delete them? Well, if I chose to place the images using the techniques demonstrated earlier, then this would be ideal to have these frames pre-positioned. But due to the nature of what I'm about to do, you will see why I deleted the frames. Okay, so with the selection tool, I'm going to select this one frame and press Command D. I'm going to place one of the images into the frame like so. Then I'm going to use the Direct Selection tool to modify the size of the image within the frame until it fits nicely. Okay, so that is looking good. Now I'm going to duplicate this image, and to do this, I'm going to select the frame, press and hold Alt on the keyboard, and click and drag it to the right. And I'm going to place it nicely within the second column. And I have effectively duplicated the image frame. Excellent. Now I want to align this new frame with my original image on the left. To do this, I will first need to select them both. With the selection tool, I will select the first frame on the left, then holding Shift on the keyboard, I can select the other frame. With them both selected, I'm going to come to the control panel at the top, and I can see some alignment tools over here to the right. I'm going to select the Align Top button, and this will snap the lowest box up to meet the top box. So now I have 2 image frames and 2 versions of the same image. Now I'm going to duplicate these 2 images and place 2 new copies under the top 2. So with the 2 image frames selected, again by holding Alt on the keyboard, by clicking and dragging, I can effectively duplicate these images and just place them nicely under like so. So now I have 4 bike images. I'm going to duplicate these again. So within a few minutes, we have created 6 bike images in the right place. So now you're asking, why have I got 6 of the same image? Well, what this enables me to do is replace these duplicate images, but keep the same dimensions. For example, in my Assets folder, I have all 6 images, and they are different in content, but they just so happen to be the same size. So with my Direct Selection tool, pressing A on the keyboard, I'm going to click the top right bike image. With this selected, I'm going to press Command D to place. I'm going to choose the next bike image and click OK. And you will see that the new image will effectively take its place, but it will maintain the size of the previous image. So I'm going to do this again with the Direct Selection tool, click an image, press Command D, choose a new image and replace the image. So I'm going to do this a further 3 times until I have all my bike images in place. Now what this technique enabled me to do was place several images into my composition after only formatting one. I was aware that all the images were of the same size in my assets folder, so by duplicating a single format and replacing the duplicate images, I was able to save time. So I hope now you can see why I chose to delete the frames earlier that I had placed beforehand. Now, on page 6, I can see 2 frame boxes waiting for my images. I am now going to place 2 new images using one of the techniques demonstrated earlier. Pressing Command D to place, I'm going to select my 2 images, click OK, and click once on the top frame and click once on the bottom frame. And quickly I have imported the 2 images separately into their own frames. With the selection tool, I will click on the top frame, press and hold Shift, Alt, Command, and then press E, and this will quickly fit the image into the frame. Double click into the frame and I will be able to toggle the size until it's neatly positioned. Then I'll do the same process to the image below. Now, if I look on my Scamp, on the cover and back page, I can see I have these Honda logos in the bottom. So now I'm going to place these into my composition. So I will navigate to my cover page, and with the selection tool, I'm going to select the bottom right frame on my cover. And I'm going to press Command D to place an image, but this time I need to come to my AI folder in the Assets folder. In this folder, I have an illustrated document called Honda Logo. So I'm going to select this and click OK. Now, you may be wondering why I cannot see anything. Well, this could be because the image is a lot bigger than the frame. So with the frame still selected, I'm going to press and hold Shift, Alt, Command, and press E. And the logo has been scaled to fit the box, and we can now see it. And you may notice this happens to have a transparent background. Now, this is because it's an Illustrator vector file, but I will be going more into this later. By pressing S on the keyboard, I will activate the Scale tool, and holding Shift on the keyboard and clicking and dragging in, I'll be able to scale it down a little like so. Then I can press V on the keyboard to activate the Selection tool, select the frame and place it in the bottom right hand corner, positioned on my page guides like so. So I'm now going to need to place this logo on the back page. I can see I already have a frame ready, but I have just formatted the logo on the cover page. So to save me some time, I'm going to delete the frame on the back page and duplicate the logo on the cover. Again, to do this, I will press Alt on the keyboard and click and drag the logo from the cover across to the back page, and I'll neatly place it in the bottom right based on my guides. Excellent! Lastly, I want to place one last image into my comp. Looking at my Scamp, I can see I want to place a racetrack graphic here next to the bullet points, and I already have my frame here for this. So with the selection tool, I will select the frame, press Command D to place, and select the racetrack and click OK. And again, press and hold Shift, Alt and Command and press E to fit the image to the frame. Now the image is white, so at the moment it may be difficult to see it, but at least it's in my comp for now. So that's a few ways in which you can import images into your InDesign composition. If I look in the links panel now, I can see a whole list of all the images contained within my InDesign document. Now let's take a look at the Scamp. On the cover and back page, the colours are very different to what I currently have in my current comp. In my Scamp, I am suggesting that the images be changed to black and white and highlight a particular colour. For example, on the cover we have a green, and on the back I want to highlight the yellow. Now if I take a look in the final document, I can see that the cover image has been manipulated as well as the back cover to match the Scamp. All bike images on page 5 and 6 have transparent backgrounds, and we have white logos on the cover and back page. In the next video, I'm going to demonstrate how I changed all these images. I'll be demonstrating how InDesign works with Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. And I'll be demonstrating how changes made in these programs can alter the dynamics of images placed in an InDesign composition. So I'll see you in the next video.